right, so Jim Bouchard, author of Sensei Leader and many other great books, by the way. Welcome to the Agile Leadership Cast.
You're too kind. You're much too kind, and I appreciate it.
I've known you for a few years, and I've worked with you on a few things, and I've read your books. Highly recommended. The other one I love is Think Like a Black Belt. That's a fantastic book for any leader.
Oh, thanks.
But you're going to be one of our lightning speakers at Agile Leadership Camp 2018, and we would like to give you an opportunity to tell our attendees a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your business.
Oh, nice. Well, you know, the simple way to say it is I help people become better leaders by helping leaders become better people. And that can sound a little bit cryptic, right? But here's what's happening these days. I don't mess around too much with technical management. That's very important, right? But management is about process and leadership is about people. So thankfully, there's a great movement. And from what you've told me, the Agile movement is tied into this, where we have to restore the humanity to leadership, right? And we have to appreciate the humanity in leadership. And that's my sole focus. That's exactly what we work on.
That's great, Jim. So you're going to be giving a talk at the theater on May 3rd. Why don't you tell our viewers a little bit about, give us a teaser on the topic.
Well, nice. It's funny because I was just putting together a slide deck for another presentation. And one of the opening slides is the word leadership, right? And then a cloudburst of, 50, 60 different terms that are associated with technical leadership these days. And what's interesting about that is we're addicted to complexity, and it's sometimes it's necessary. In your world, it certainly is. We have to understand complex processes and whatnot and how they work together. But when we're talking about that simple human interaction, we've got to pare that all away. So we can take these 50, 60, 80, 100, 1,000 terms that people throw around and reduce it to the most essential. And the most essential things that we need to focus on in leadership are simply this: respect, trust, and loyalty. We can't lead effectively without it. We can't get anything done without the trust, respect, and loyalty of the people we serve. And certainly on a personal level, because sometimes we get hung up in leadership practice that it's all about the people we serve. And that's very important. But leaders are people too, right? So what do you want as leaders? And of course, if we pare it down, what do we want? We want respect. We want the trust of the people that we're working hard for, and we want their loyalty. So it really comes down to that, and how we achieve that.
One of the things you talk about in your books, and I've heard you talk about, is courage. And you didn't mention in your overview there. You're going to talk about courage at all and why that's important?
Sure, because that gets to the how part of it, right? How do we earn this trust, respect, and loyalty? Well, we're choking on the research, and all the research comes to the same conclusion. And that conclusion is this: people want leaders who are compassionate, courageous, and wise. Now we have to define those terms, because they can be pretty philosophical if we don't take them down to earth, right? The courage to make decisions, the courage to act when others are afraid to, the courage to face your fears, right? That's what we're talking about with courage. And leadership, certainly we need that, and people expect that of leaders. The compassion part, that's probably the most essential one. How can you earn trust, respect, and loyalty without showing people that you genuinely care about them? And more important than that, that you empathize with them, that you understand them, or you're making a clear attempt to, right? And the wisdom part, that can get a little spooky, but we can bring that down to earth pretty quickly too. I just share the martial arts definition of wisdom. A lot of what I'm sharing comes from my life as a martial artist, and it imprints perfectly in the leadership space. Wisdom is simply, well, of course, it's knowledge and experience, right? You have to have that, but tempered by awareness. That act of self-awareness. Are we looking in the mirror? Are we understanding who we are at any given time, who we want to be, and what we have to do in very practical steps to get there, to be the person that we want to be and the person that others expect us and really deserve us to be. So that's what it is. It's a constant look in the mirror. And again, we're back to that old conundrum, the research, right? Research, again, clearly shows, and this is around the world, that one of the most important considerations in any leader's mind is a desire to be self-aware. It's a necessity if we're serving other people. It's also one of the greatest deficiencies in leadership. So we do talk a lot about that, the Sensei Leader Program. How do we become more self-aware, and how do we practice that on a daily basis without taking away from the time you need for all the important functional stuff that I don't deal with, right?
Yeah. Well, the the first time I read your book, I thought, you know, this guy really aligns well with Agile values and Agile leadership. And I know you're not technically in the technical business, but you're sure.
You're way too kind. You're way too kind.
Yeah, you're sure in the leadership business, and I think that's where we need the most help. So it's going to be fantastic to have you at the event, and we're really looking forward to your speech.
Well, hopefully I'll learn a little bit more about the technical side of things too. That would be helpful.
I'm sure we will. So Jim Bouchard, Sensei Leader, thanks for joining us today on the Agile CXO videocast.
Thanks, Jeff. Looking forward to it.